Hello and welcome to this series of interviews where we meet members of the farm team at Clinton Devon Estates. I'm Dan Grist, a beef and sheep farmer from mid-Devon, and today I'm talking to Alice Thomas, young stock manager for Clinton Farms. Alice holds a degree in bioveterinary science and has been part of the team since 2017.
You don't win them all, but when you do win in the face of adversity with the little calves, then it gives you so much pride, and you just think, other people wouldn't have tried with her, but that we tried and we've succeeded. She's a happy, healthy milking cow.
Alice Thomas, Clinton Farms young stock manager, thank you so much for giving up your time today. I know you've got a pretty busy schedule.
That's all right.
Why don't you kick off by explaining a bit about your role?
So my role is to look after the dairy calves from the day they're born up to around 2 years old, because we want the cows to calve in at 2. That's the optimal, really. So I'll rear them on milk, and then once they're weaned, turn them out and watch them grow, hopefully.
So how was spring calving for you this year then? It must have been a pretty busy couple of months.
Yeah, that was the last big rush, was the spring block calving at the Dalditch herd. So roughly between 230 and 250 cows calving in 3 months. So that's 250 calves, obviously, for me to rear, and with the help of my team. And yeah, we've just about, I think today's the day that we've actually just turned out the last little ones that have been weaned off, and they've just gone out in the field this morning, so they are loving life, and it's a lovely day.
Oh, that is a great job, isn't it, turning them out?
Oh yeah, it's lovely. Yeah, no, they go mad for it. They just love being out in the sunshine, and it's a completely new experience for them, because they were born in a nice straw yard in the shed, and then they've lived in the shed ever since, and then all of a sudden the world's much bigger than they've ever had before.
And how do you find those 3 months calving? I can kind of relate from lambing season at home. It can be very full on.
Oh, yeah, it's very stressful, because one minute you think, oh, we're all right, there's nothing on calving, and then, 10 minutes down the line, there's 3 cows running around, and you've got to work out which mums they came out of, and make sure that they all have their first feed. The colostrum is really important. Because without the colostrum, they don't have any antibodies for any diseases. So as long as they get their colostrum in the first 6 hours, then that's like gold dust, really. If they don't get that, then we're in trouble from the start. It's the drive in the future, really. If you do the calf right from the start, then they drive a more healthy, more productive milk herd that's healthy, like off its own back. It hasn't got a history of having issues. It's just healthy in its own right.
And talking about, making sure the herd have time out in the field grazing, I assume that is an integral part of the whole system.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of importance to having the freedom to graze, and I feel it makes the cattle grow better, because there's an old phrase that they grow with the grass, which is, it's very true. You turn them out and the grass will grow, and they'll grow with it, and it's a much more natural way of making like adult cows, although we can be much more technical about things these days. But we can get them in and weigh them and then turn them back out again. There's no need to reinvent the wheel, really.
Yeah, exactly. So what's your background then? What was your route into farming?
So my mum and dad have a beef and arable farm up in the Cotswolds, and I wanted to do something veterinary based. So I did bioveterinary science at UWE, and with my dissertation, I did a feed supplement trial on some dry cows, so cows that were due to calve. And with that, I got into milking, and I ran with it, really, because I just loved it. Because with dairy cows, you can do so much with them, and they're friendly, and they like being worked with, and like beef cows that can be a bit crazy when they want to be. But there's so much you can do with a dairy cow. You can do so much that is veterinary inspired. Obviously not operations, but you can monitor their health so closely that it really interested me, actually.
Yeah, and you joined the Clinton team in 2017, is that right?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
So I can imagine this was a great opportunity for you, especially looking after the welfare of the herd with your passion for the veterinary side of things as well.
I joined in 2017. I'd come down from a 200 cow little dairy farm in the Cotswold Vale, and came down here to start off being the assistant herd manager, dairy herd at Otter. Then the job evolved that they needed someone to do young stock, so I stepped away from actually milking and did calves and young stock. And the job's just grown, because when I started we only had like 30 or 50 calves, and now we've got more and more calves coming through, and we just keep more and more.
Yeah, so in the 4 years you've been part of the team, you've seen quite a lot of change in that time. What is the next aim on the horizon? What's next for the herd?
I think the plans are to get the spring block calving period to be within 10 to 12 weeks. So, tighten it up a little bit, which will mean that there's a lot more calves coming quickly. There'll be about maybe 8 to 10 a day. And at the other herd at Otter, I think, the fertility is going really well at the minute. We're doing PDs at the moment, and there's so many coming in pregnant, which is great. But then I'm also thinking, 8 months down the line, we're going to have a lot of calves. But it's you always go into the calving periods with intrepidation, and then come out like, oh well, it wasn't that bad after all. And you get into it, and you follow the protocols of getting the colostrum in, and it all works out all right.
Yeah, definitely. So what is that motivation for you then to get up on those cold, miserable mornings in February and work with the calves?
What I love is I love seeing all the little baby faces of the calves, and knowing that they've had their food now and then they're happy, because once you've fed everything, the whole shed goes completely silent, because they all sit down and snuggle in, and they're really quite cute actually when they're not shouting at you because they're hungry. They snuggle down, and then everything's peaceful, and you just think, oh, I really achieved something there. And like there's ones in every group that there's certain cows that we name them, and what's the best is when you see one as a baby. Like we've got one at the minute that we called Scooby, because its little face looks like Scooby-Doo, and we've seen Scooby from a baby calf last spring come all the way through, and she's actually having her pregnancy diagnosis this afternoon, so fingers crossed there might be a baby Scooby on the way.
Yes, yeah, definitely keep us updated on that one. We want to hear the Scooby update. It must be so nice for you to see that whole cycle.
Yeah, and it's really sweet, because you do actually still remember their faces even after they've gone back to the dairy. Obviously I've got to get the milk from the dairy, so I see the cows coming in and out for milking, and often I'll like pop my nose in and just have a look round into the parlour, and often there'll be one that I remember from being a little baby that's in there milking, and you think, oh, I helped her do that. And some of them remember their names that you've given them. There's one, I call her Bambi, because she was born with quite weak and wobbly legs, and I had to kind of carry her along in a little sling for a bit to get her legs working. And so when I go, Bambi, she'll kind of look up and be like, Mom. And then you go over, and because she's obviously had so much fuss, so she's really tame, you can just go and give her a cuddle. And sometimes you just need a cuddle some days, and there's a lot of the cows that you can just give a cuddle to, and they seem to enjoy it as much as I do.
I absolutely love that image of you carrying around Bambi in a sling. How did little Bambi get on and get stronger?
We got an old jumper to put under her tummy and lift her up, and put some like insulation stuff for going around a water pipe. We put that on her front legs to make them a bit stronger, and then helped to lift her and walked her along, and up and down just in front of the dairy. And yeah, it took a fair while, and some days you think, what is the point? But she had such spirit that we'd walk her along, and he'd bring her into the office and see if anyone was making a cup of tea. and be like, "Morning, Bambi's here." Take her back away again. And what's really sweet is that Bambi had another baby. When Bambi had a baby, the baby was fine. It didn't have anything wrong with its legs, because we thought, oh, we hope this isn't a genetic thing. But no, she had a baby, and I've named it Cora after my goddaughter.
Oh.
So, the family goes on.
And all that time and effort you put into Bambi, it paid off. It was worth the effort. You never gave up on her.
Yeah, it's so nice. Like you don't win them all, but when you do win in the face of adversity with the little calves, then it gives you so much pride, and you just think, oh, other people wouldn't have tried with her, but we tried and we've succeeded. She's a happy, healthy milking cow. We got in calf first time. Can't ask for more.
No, absolutely not. So to wrap up, Alice, for anyone listening to this who wants to get into farming, maybe there are some young girls listening to this who would love to be in your position. What is your advice to them?
My advice would be to stick with it and really go for it. Throw yourself into it. Try everything once. Don't be afraid to muck in, especially being a girl. A lot of like older farmers will be like, oh, don't worry, love, don't need to do that. And if you show willing and you get really stuck in, they'll admire you for it. And a lot of farmers really do appreciate women with calves, because they think that women have that natural maternal instinct, which is quite special, actually. Just don't be put off, even if you haven't gone to like ag college. Like I didn't go to ag college. I took a bit of a left turn, but you can get there in the end. And there's always jobs on farms. It's beautiful to work in the open air and see animals grow, and that's what it is.
Yeah, definitely. I won't hold you up any longer, Alice. Thank you for coming to chat on the podcast.
That's all right.